Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to be going over my top 5 tips that everyone needs to know for climbing in League of Legends. Now, this is going to be applicable to any role and any champion. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up in the comments down below. And if you'd like an OPGG review, I'm starting to open up those again. Make sure to comment down below with your summoner name and what region you are in. So the first thing and the most important thing that you need to establish when you're playing League of Legends is you need to establish a very strong, tight champion pool that serves very particular purposes. Right now, my champion pool is Swain, Senna, and a little bit of Xerath in particular matchups. Now, Swain is my really safe blind pick champion that I do not really struggle in too many matchups with, and Senna is a pocket pick into certain matchups, and Xerath, again, is another pocket pick into certain matchups. So, what you want to develop in your champion pool is you do not want to have more than 3 champions in your champion pool. You need to have a champion that is blind pickable and then a couple of champions that you feel comfortable on, and you do not want to have too many high skill cap champions. That will be very difficult. Also, you want to develop a off role that you can play at a decent level. I usually queue up with support and then mid as my secondary, and my mid champions generally are Wukong and Mordekaiser. Even though those do seem like top lane champions, this is where I play them in the mid lane. Now, I want you all to look at your OPGGs and really identify where your weaknesses are and where you are losing a lot of LP. I gave up Veigar a while ago, earlier in the season, just because I wasn't performing at the same level I was last season, where I was able to climb pretty much off the back of Veigar. The GLP really kind of hit him hard, and for some reason I can't make him work this season. So identify what champions are working for you, what have the highest win rates, and focus very heavily on a couple of different champions. I want your match history to look like this, where you are playing a very consistent champion. You're playing maybe 1 to 2 champions in particular matchups, and you are just playing them over and over again. This is going to help you really identify where your strengths are, and it's going to really help you get used to the matchups and beat people over the head with experience. As you can see here, I don't know why, but I just started playing a couple of different random champions, and I just gave a bunch of LP for free. So do not do what I did right here. Just try and play a consistent champion pool, and it should be very, very easy to climb. And that will wrap up tip number 1. Alright, and getting into tip number 2, you want to make sure that you are not handicapping yourself or limiting yourself with a suboptimal rune set or item set. So make sure that whenever you are picking up a newer champion, or you're maybe adding a new champion, or even if you're playing a champion you've been playing for a long time, check out what the pros are doing, check out what the highest win rates are. There's a bunch of different websites that can do this for you, and this is just going to give you the best possible situation for when you are playing League of Legends. A very small thing that is going to help a lot of people in lower elo is just go over to settings, go over to interface, and turn off show all chat and show allied chat. There is nothing productive that is being said in chat, and usually what it is going to do, it is going to tilt a lot of people. The less that is being said in team chat and all chat, the higher your chances of winning the game are. And that'll wrap up tip number 2. Alright, and getting into tip number 3 for carrying in League of Legends, it is very, very important to understand that it is the easiest way to carry a game is by just having an abundant amount of resources in League of Legends and beating people over the head with a huge sack of gold. So how you do this is just jump into a practice tool and get extremely used to the champions that you are playing. And this applies to support roles as well, because you will have access to farm at different points of the game. So make sure that you get really good with the auto attack animation, and you can really CS well. The best way to do this is lock your level at level 1, turn on the minion spawn, and go to work making it as hard for yourself as possible, and just getting as little AD or no starting items just to make it as difficult as possible, and try and get at least 8 CS per minute. And if you're getting those kind of numbers in game, in anywhere from iron to, I don't know, even gold, you're going to start being able to carry games. You're going to have earlier item breakpoints, and you're going to just absolutely be able to destroy the enemy champions. And another thing that is very easy to carry in low elo games is by just setting up vision traps, getting control wards, and using your sweeper, and really just sitting in Fog of War and setting up traps for these people, because they do not respect Fog of War in lower elos. This is the easiest way to snowball, is just say you're in the mid lane or the top lane and you feign a roam down to the bot side. Just sitting in this bush and waiting for the enemy to come along is going to be a great way to avoid those enemies that like to turtle under tower, because they always try and follow when you roam. because they do not want to get flamed by their teammates, and they know that they need to come up and match your roam. And that will wrap up this tip. All right, and getting into tip number 4, when you are looking to climb in League of Legends, you should have a very good idea of how you are supposed to win games before you even go inside them. For example, when I am playing Swain, I know that my team fighting is very strong and my pick potential is very strong with my root and my passive pull. So how I play around that is I look for team fights and I look for picks. I am not a huge bully in lane. I have decent laning, but I'm not something like a Blitzcrank that relies on snowballing very heavily in the early game, landing hooks on the enemy champions, and then carrying the game with an excess amount of resources. So if you have any questions about what your particular champion in your champion pool's win condition is, you can ask me down in the comments down below. I'd love to help you guys out with any of that. And you want to make sure that you're identifying the win condition not only for yourself and how you can get ahead and start carrying the game, but also your team. Say you have something like a Lee Sin jungler and the enemy has a Amumu. You want to help the Lee Sin with invades, because the Amumu will out team fight Lee Sin in the late game. You really want to play around your team's strength and the early pressure that you have when your ally is going to have jungle prio. Always look to augment allies' strength and play around the champions that are going to be able to carry in the respective times of the respective game. And that will wrap up this tip. All right, and getting into the last tip, a great way to learn and to improve and help you with your learning curve when you are playing a particular champion, but you struggle against a very, very particular champion. A common example of this is people struggle. They say, oh, I always lose to Darius in the top lane. Oh, Katarina always beats me. Oh, Master Yi always beats me. These very polarizing champion picks are a great way for you to increase your overall game knowledge. I want you to pick those champions, play them in normals, and really get a good understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. One of two things are going to happen when you play these games. First, you're going to win the game and you're going to start understanding the champion's strengths, and maybe you start developing even a new pocket pick with a new fun champion that you didn't think that you'd be good at. Or you're going to lose and people are literally going to show you a blueprint on how to beat the champion. After every game, you guys should be taking notes on how you are losing and how you're winning games and how your allies are throwing games, so you can better understand and track how the average player plays in your elo and what tricks they fall for. Maybe there's just certain death bushes around the Baron where you lost a game just off losing a team fight of getting a bunch of picks because your team didn't respect a Fog of War. Try and do that same exact play in the next game and see if it works, because you are going to be playing, if you are not climbing, you're just playing the same elo over and over again, you're going to be, the champions and players in that pool are going to be played pretty much the exact same way as you are in that rank. So you will be able to effectively do really well against those champions, and you'll start to recognize patterns, and then once you identify these patterns, you can use them for your advantage. That's going to wrap up my video, guys. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up in the comments down below, or you can just go to the pinned comments. I'm going to have a link to my Discord, and you can ask me any questions there. All right, guys.